You are listening to the Loida Lewis podcast, hosted by Loida Nicolas Lewis. She's a trailblazing businesswoman, leader, philanthropist, and the widow of Reginald F. Lewis, the visionary leader who was the first African American to build $1 billion company. With unparalleled determination, Loida Lewis has not only excelled as a successful attorney, but also shaped a $1 billion empire. Following the untimely passing of her husband, Reginald F. Lewis, she took the helm of TLC Beatrice, carving her legacy as a successful business leader. Be inspired and learn from her as she shares her wisdom, the secrets to her success in both business, in love, and in life. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn. With your host, Miss Loida Lewis.
Welcome to the Loida Lewis podcast. And today, I have the honor of presenting to you the first Filipino-American romantic lead in an Emmy-winning series, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Here he is, Vincent Rodriguez III. Thank you very much for being here.
Oh, salamat.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Tita Loida.
Yes, and I know that series, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, ran for 4 seasons. Yes.
It did.
Okay, so tell me, first of all, how did you land the role? Because you're the first Filipino to be a leading romantic lead.
Well, I think to answer that question, I'd have to tell you that young Vinny was watching a ABC channel and saw a very young Paulo Montalban play a prince opposite Brandy in a production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. And I'm a huge fan of Whoopi Goldberg, Whitney Houston, Victor Garber, It was an all-star cast, and Jason Alexander, and I'm just huge fans of all their work. And to see that story told with a diverse cast, I had never seen a Filipino lead, and I remember thinking as a kid, I want to do that. And a few months after I saw that, I found out there was a production of Cinderella happening at an all-girls Catholic school, not far from my home. And at that point in my high school schooling, I had started to explore doing shows outside of my school. So not just at school, but like other high schools in the district. And then, in this case, Mercy High School, where I played Prince Christopher.
You were Prince?
Yes.
The Prince in Cinderella?
Yes, opposite a black Cinderella. So they double cast it like they often do in high school theater. And I got to be Paulo Montalban, who's actually, fast forward to my wedding, he came as a guest with one of my best friends, Olivia Ogama. So full circle moment for me to see one of my heroes and one of the few Filipino leading men at the time really stepping up. And so that kind of inspired me and put me on a trajectory, a path. And it wasn't an easy path or a smooth path. It was very challenging at home, with my culture, with my sexual identity, and with my economical background, But I somehow persevered, and through years of training and years of hearing no, and 11 years of being in New York, pursuing Broadway, but never booking a Broadway show, I found myself in this musical comedy number 2 on the call sheet, starring in this show. And now I get messages from all over the world in different languages about my character, Josh Chan, and the show, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which did win 4 Emmys.
Seeing a Filipino actor being Prince Charming was enough to have him set a goal, setting your goal or having a dream.
Yeah.
So that's one marvelous. So you said you've been here in New York you've been in New York to actualize your dream. So you have always been your dream is always to be in theater or to be an actor?
Oh, I like that question,
Yes.
Tita Loida, because that's very specific. If you want to be an actor professionally, you can do that in voiceover, TV, film, or now with these days, YouTube or even social media can monetize you and you can make a good living. But I really loved musicals I was a huge fan of Gene Kelly and those black and white movies with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, Sammy Davis Jr., and also like the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra. I was just a huge fan of that style of performing. And my dad, may he rest in peace, he loved karaoke and would always sing Elvis songs and My Way and I've Got You Under My Skin. And so I kind of, I was nudged in that direction.
So it's not really an actor. You want to be a singer too. And a dancer, Fred Astaire.
Oh, yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. did all of that. So is that what you did? I mean, is that what you were up to?
Yeah, when I was very, very young, I'd say infant, my sisters and my mom tell me that when they wanted to put me for a nap during the day, they would put me in that chair that you crank and it swings. They wouldn't crank it. They'd set me there and I would just go,
move. Oh my God.
and I just fall
So
asleep.
you had an inner sense of rhythm already.
I think
you didn't need somebody to crank that cradle.
No, I didn't. What I think was more significant too was when I got a little older, my eldest sister, Suzanne, she, brilliant, she got a master's degree and went to UC Santa Cruz. But before that, she taught me piano. She was one of the first musicians in our house. My youngest sister, Romana, beautiful singer. My middle sister, Lisa, so independent, so structured, efficient, and willing to go out on the limb and get what she wants and take care of herself. So I had a lot of role models growing up. And so I would hear my sister Rowena singing soprano. So I would sing Ariel from Little Mermaid before my voice dropped. And I was playing piano at a very young age. That's the first of many instruments I learned in my household.
So what other instrument aside from piano did you learn?
I secondly picked up the clarinet in the 4th grade, and I kept playing through junior high. And in 8th grade, I picked up the drums. And then my freshman year of high school, 9th grade, I started theater arts. I also, though, then started to dabble in drumming way more for jazz bands. So playing drums in jazz band. I was in 2 different bands playing clarinet
in high school.
Yes, 2 different bands. I love music so much. So much that I wanted more of it, and I was a drum major for the marching band, which didn't exist at our school. So they built it from the ground up, and I was a part of that.
So we're first also.
Yes.
In the high school.
Yes. Well. Also, ironically, I just remembered the drum major who trained my senior drum major was Filipino.
You see that? We're everywhere.
We're everywhere.
Yes. Unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes.
Yes.
And inspired. Like I feel like our culture has a deep connection to feeling inspired, being inspired, or as the Emerson quote goes, grabbing your gleam of light.
Oh, did you hear that? I love that. There is a gleam of light and you grab it.
Grab it.
Yes.
Because if you don't, unfortunately, years from now, you will see someone else doing your idea.
Yes, that's right.
And it was really yours. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I'm here in front of you now, because I was tired of letting my music stay in me and doing a solo cabaret and starting to be more active on social media with all of my various interests has now kind of come to the forefront. And now I get to do solo cabarets. I get to teach. I get to make a positive impact in the communities that I belong to, whether it's the LGBTQ community or the AAPI community. And the only community I haven't mentioned yet, but goes as far back as my childhood, is the martial arts community.
Martial arts. So aside from singing and playing music and dancing also, you also do martial arts.
Yes, I was a huge fan of Michael Jackson as a kid. Who wasn't?
He wasn't a martial arts artist.
Well,
but he was doing all kinds of actions.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I saw, you already said it. I saw the overlap. I saw Michael Jackson doing these sharp movements, but I also saw that in fighting, and then I saw weapons, and then I discovered Filipino martial arts in high school. So as a kid, I took Taekwondo, and then I discovered Hapkido, and then I got my first black belt in Shotokan, which is a Japanese martial art. So I had to learn some Japanese. I learned how to count in Japanese. I had to train people twice my age as a 12-year-old black belt. I had to learn leadership and how to guide and lead and how to inspire properly, not to force, but to nurture, to lift up, because people need to learn how to fly on their own. You can't be flying for them.
As a teacher, you do have to have that. But did you learn any of the Filipino martial arts?
Opo.
Huh?
Opo.
Yes?
So,
could you tell us, please?
So before I got my second black belt in Taekwondo in high school, I went to a very special high school. It's Westmore High School in Daly City, California, or as I like to call it, the second Philippines.
Because Daly City, yes.
So
it's
many Filipinos.
Yes,
well, in the Bay Area, California especially. So I grew up just going to, Noche Buenas and meeting relatives that I have never met that are from the Philippines or live somewhere nearby.
We are all your titas and ates.
We are all your titas. We are all your ates. We are your titos and your cuyas.
Yes, yes.
So that's exactly what happened. When I started schooling at Westmore High School, I became more interested in diversifying my martial arts training. And it just so happened that one of the counselors, Mr. Ray Cordoba, was Filipino, and his martial arts club was stick fighting.
Stick fighting, it's Kali.
Kali.
Right.
So guess who his teacher was? Grandmaster Presas in the Philippines. And of course, somehow Grandmaster Presas would come visit and train us on the weekends.
You got the best.
We got the best. At the time, we had a Filipino mayor, Mike Gunguna.
Yes.
He
is the first Filipino mayor of a major American city.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Well, I had the honor of being his sparring partner. And he loved fighting me. And I asked him why. And keep in mind, I took Hapkido, I already had a black belt in Shotokan, and I was on my way to my second black belt. I said, why do you like partnering with me? He says, because when I throw you, you make such a loud sound. It makes me feel really good.
Yes.
That's how I was trained.
Yes, very good.
I was trained to take a hit. I was trained to fall, how to roll, and how to, I don't know if you can just use that as a metaphor for life, but you roll with the punches. Someone trips you, so you get knocked down, you have an accident. It's okay. How do you get back up? How do you keep
exactly.
going?
Everyone, please remember that. You get punched down, but you have to learn how to get up, and you get up.
Yes,
right?
I do.
Yes.
And maybe my spirit hurts. Maybe I'm sad. Maybe I'm depressed, which has been a very real thing for me the last few years with my own mental health. But through family, friends, your tribe, finding like-minded people, and surrounding yourself with them, you learn to grow and you learn the world, as scary as it can be, it's also just as joyful. So you can pick, which one do you want to focus on? This side or this side? And whatever you focus on, that's what you're going to get. And I wanted to focus on the possibilities. And here I am talking to you. And as an artist of multiple trades, I just didn't really realize it at the time. I love art. So dance, martial arts seemed the same to me. Kali, stick fighting, single stick, double stick, knife. No different than the other art form I haven't shared yet, but magic.
Magic. He also does magic. Oh, my goodness. So tell us about that, since you mentioned it.
I started it in high school. My parents they used to take me to Disneyland every year, the whole family. And I got used to that. So spoiled. I was spoiled. Well, we're about to go into my 9th grade year. I'm expecting a trip before school starts. And I said,
Going to high school.
Going into high school. I said, Disneyland. My parents like, your sister's in college. Like, we got to pay for them. We're not going to just take you to Disneyland. And I thought, well then you got to take me somewhere. Like, I want an adventure, And they said, how about Vegas? I'm like, Vegas. What am I going to do in Vegas? I don't gamble. I have no interest in Vegas. None at all. They drive me to Vegas. We see billboards on the way because it's like a 2-hour drive. I see billboard for Lance Burton performing at the Monte Carlo. Illusions, magician. I am so interested. He's there for the next 20 years. And then a few miles past, David Copperfield. He made the Statue of Liberty disappear. This guy is amazing. He walked through the Great Wall of China. So we get to Vegas. Each one of my parents took me to see each of those shows. And when I came back to San Francisco, I found the nearest magic store, Misdirection's Magic Shop in San Francisco, run and owned by Joe Pon, who's been a dear friend and magician mentor ever since. And because of him, I would do solo cabaret magic acts. I was a magician at my high school. I did my own magic show in high school with my magic brother, Ryan Saplan, another Filipino. And we created and we learned some of the most advanced and entertaining effects using a deck of cards and props. But using your fingers, no different than a weapon. Or an instrument, or a drum, or a tap step.
I love it. I love it. Okay, my goodness gracious. Here is a showman, our own Sammy Davis Jr., but more. He doesn't do martial arts.
Oh, that's true.
He doesn't do martial arts. Yes.
Sammy, we love you, but I got one up on you, man.
So now, but all of this was in California, where is Hollywood.
Right.
But how did you decide to come to New York?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes. Why New York?
Well, in high school, I was starting to stray away from martial arts. I was still a magician, but not as passionate because I wanted to do musical theater. So Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, tap dancing. I wanted to bring joy to the world because musicals meant so much to me. And I was a huge fan of Rent.
Rent, yes.
Jonathan Larson, may he rest in peace as well.
Yes.
But that sparked a generation of not only fans of musicals, but I think a generation of artists, young artists that would change the world.
Okay, and that's New York.
And to me that was New York. So I thought
Broadway.
Yeah, I thought to myself, well, they say if you can make it there, you can make it
anywhere.
Right?
That's right.
So I went to school at the Pacific Conservatory of Performing Arts in Santa Maria, California. It happened to be through a junior college. So economically for my family, my dad applied for financial aid and we got it. So he didn't have to pay for my schooling. And PCPA only accepts 30 students for a 2-year acting conservatory. And there's one teacher for every 2 students.
So, very personalized.
Yes. And that's one of the things I loved about the program. I still go back and teach at least once a year.
Oh, that's good.
Whenever I can. I
you
go
give back.
Always. Any school that I trained at as a youth, I go back and have connections and try to make it a point to visit. Anytime I'm back home in San Francisco, Daly City, or in Santa Maria.
That's great. So you had 2 years.
2 years and then...
of intense training.
Yeah, it was... Again, a lot. I was very excited, very impressionable, but also very pressured. My dad gave me a almost seemingly impossible ultimatum before my first year was over. And it made me a person I didn't like. It made me perfectionistic to the point of putting people down and exerting my authority and my self-importance and my better, like it was always looking down. And I realized that's not the person or artist I want to be. And my instructors, through their guidance and nurturing, helped me. And they let me have space, room to grow. I had amazing colleagues and friends who I'm still in touch with to this day. I graduated from PCPA 2003. That was in May. June, July, August. By August, the week of my birthday, I was offered the first national tour of the Broadway show 42nd Street, a tap musical.
Wow, yes.
After, 3 years of tap training. I didn't start till the year 2000 doing tap dance. So 2003, I was in a Broadway tap dancing musical.
Yes.
Trying not to pinch myself. I don't want to wake up from this. Because in college, a lot of people were drinking and having fun, like you do in your youth, which is totally fine. I was obsessed. I wasn't drinking. I was learning Fosse.
The Fosse moves.
Yeah, the Fosse DVD. They had, that was one of the first Broadway musicals that they ever filmed and had available for you to buy on DVD. And it had 3 acts. It was so long, but it was Fosse's work. And I thought, well, this is the encyclopedia of one of the most pivotal choreographers and dancers of American musical theater. Well, I'm going to learn how to.
Yes.
I'm going to learn how to do that with elegance and grace, utilizing my martial arts background, the ballet training I had, and my knowledge of acting and singing and magic and entertaining. So I kind of synthesized all the things together, and I just started to let one passion of art fuel the other to the point where I'm on this tour for 9 months, and at the end, everyone was going back to New York. I said, do I have to go back to San Francisco or LA where I auditioned in? They said, no. Do you want to go back with everyone else to New York? I said, yes.
Yes, that's right. The bug hit you.
Go.
You've
Please.
got to go.
Yes, please and thank you.
Yes, I see.
And
All right, great.
But when I went here, I had nothing. I didn't learn to save, I love my parents. I didn't learn that from them. I didn't learn how to save, how to be frugal, how to manage my money. So I came here with a 60-pound duffel bag, all my dance shoes, a 12-pound laptop, because that's how heavy they were back then, a toiletry bag, changes of clothes, and an equity card, a union card.
You got the equity card already?
Yeah, because 42nd Street, they made me get it.
That's terrific. Fantastic.
It was good, but it was challenging because now I'm up against the best.
Ah, yes, that's
like
right.
the most, not even maybe the best, let's say the most competitive.
Equity card is the union card of actors who have sort of made it.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's not easy to get.
Well, it wasn't then. Now you can buy your way into the Actors Equity Association, which is the standard union for Broadway or national tours. But back then, you had to earn it. So
That's exactly it. You have to earn it.
I did.
Yes, yes.
And I had to pay for it.
Yes.
It came out of my paycheck, and I wasn't getting paid a whole lot of money during that contract.
Yes.
Because the union was shifting, and the amount of money that we were getting paid as a minimum for a Broadway tour was getting cut less than in half.
Oh, my goodness.
So that agreement, or that contract, is called the short engagement touring agreement, or CETA as they call it. So I was, I think, fortunate enough to have been a part of that production and later tours that use that agreement, because I think it taught me a lot about the value of being an artist and how we are not always paid our value.
Sadly, it's
Unfortunately.
true. Yes.
But that does not mean you don't put 100% into what you do, and you make sure you find the why that fuels you through any artistic project, no matter what the salary is, even if it's zero.
Okay, so very important, please. That's the lesson. No matter what you are paid for, you give it 110%.
Yes.
Why? Because your own talent will speak for itself.
It did.
Yes. So what happened?
Tell
us.
It did work out. I went to New York and I auditioned for everything. And a dear friend of mine who I met on tour said, come with me to Toronto for a bowling tournament. And I went, why not? I'm in my 20s. I didn't have a home, no apartment. I didn't have a mailing address. We crossed the border, and this is before I had money to even have a plan, international phone plan. So I didn't have that. So I had to turn my phone off. As soon as we crossed the border into the States, blink, blink, 2 voicemails. First, hi, this is Binda Casting from New York City. We'd like to offer you a part in the show Irving Berlin's White Christmas. Could you please call us back at your earliest convenience? There was a British casting director at the time.
Wow.
And
yes.
the other call was from Jim Carnahan Casting, who was casting the first national tour of Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Wow.
So I sat in a Kinko's, like, which one?
Wow.
do I do?
Wow.
And Irving Berlin's White Christmas was not an offer. It was an interest saying, Randy Skinner, choreographer of 42nd Street, wants to workshop your dancing with a bunch of other dancers. And then we'll see if he casts you. And I said, I'd be happy to do that. It's just that I have this other offer for the first national tour of Thoroughly Modern Millie to be in the ensemble and understudy 2 principal roles. So do you want to get back to me?
Good for you. Good for you. So he knows his value and he negotiates.
And I did, though I was taught you wait 24 hours before you answer. I didn't wait 24 hours because at that point, she called me back. right away and said, Vincent, so this is your official offer for an ensemble track in the original cast of Irving Berlin's White Christmas. And I was like, White Christmas. Guess where it premiered, Tita?
Where?
My hometown, San Francisco, at the Curran Theater, where I saw my very first musical.
Lovely, lovely. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, full circle. Yes,
Like,
yes.
oh my gosh,
Yes,
that
yes.
theater, Wicked, started in that theater. And so when I did White Christmas there, I was home. I lived with my mom.
And all your family, all our families there.
And also,
Yes.
I knew that area because it was downtown San Francisco. And I didn't tell you this part, but before I got into that theater school, PCPA, I needed more training. So I went to the Youth Conservatory, ACT. That is known for their master's program, the ACT Master's Acting Program. I was in their Youth Conservatory scholarship. I couldn't afford it. But during that time, I got my first adult job working at Starbucks as a barista. So a few years after that, I'm in White Christmas at the Curran, and across the street from the stage door is a Starbucks.
Starbucks.
So I go there during rehearsal, and I see this Asian guy at the counter. I'm like, Daniel. He's like, Vince. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Are you a partner here, like a barista here? He said, no, I'm the manager here. So he built his way up. And I went, that's incredible. Well, if you need some help this holiday season, let me know. And he went, no, seriously, do you want to work? I went,
I'm working over there.
yeah, I could do probably 15 hours. Is that enough? He went, yeah. So I worked at Starbucks 15 hours a week while I was across the street doing 8 shows of Irving Berlin's White Christmas.
Oh my God, you were young. You were all the strengths. You had all the things.
I was the bunso of my family.
Yes.
And yes, I was the youth
Yes.
that was like, I'm going to grab this opportunity.
Yes.
And also, I think of it as staying humble and staying flexible. There's a phrase that says, the tree that doesn't bend with the wind will snap.
Absolutely. The bamboo. Well,
Yes.
that's why Filipinos are called the bamboo rather than the oak tree. Yes, yes.
Oh, then we're bamboo, Tita. We're bamboo.
We're bamboo. Yes.
So that was an example for me in my early adult years of staying humble and applying, like you said, applying myself to something 110% no matter what it is. How you do anything is how you do everything. And that's something I teach my students whenever I'm giving workshops or master classes, mentoring or teaching. That's an important lesson that I think applies to not just the arts, but anyone who wants to be successful or offer their services to the world.
Yes. And I see from your biodata, you're in everything here in New York. Voiceover.
Yes.
Okay. Film.
Yes.
Television, of course.
Yes.
Yes. But somehow you said no Broadway. Can you just explain how is that struggle? Yes.
Yeah. I think the struggle was more hurtful and painful in the earlier years. I think maybe before I left New York, I think I was hopeful it was going to happen, and because I was booking really amazing jobs. And let me be clear, Tita. I am not complaining about the jobs I got during that 11 years. I worked with the best directors, choreographers, regional theater, Broadway, workshops. I did cast recordings. I met some of the most amazing creatives who I am still in touch with to this day, and who text me or message me, or who just, whenever I bump into, we share a story from the olden days,
And you got the romantic role in Crazy.
Yeah. And
Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's New York.
well, that's what's weird is that role was auditioning in LA and New York. But in New York, every Asian male actor auditioned for the role of Josh Chan. So Telsey and Company, the casting director for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, was auditioning every Asian male actor. And I was one of them. And it just so happens that the show Here Lies Love, which started at the Public Theater, became a hit the year prior to this moment I'm discussing. So in this moment, I'm now in their second production the following year. They brought it back. And Tony Award winner Ruthie Ann Miles, she didn't have a Tony Award yet, but she and I were doing a workshop together. Just a random other workshop. I didn't even know, I wasn't thinking that she was Imelda in Here Lies Love. I had no idea. I wasn't thinking about that. To me, she was a really amazing actress who was being underutilized in a musical workshop, which is not uncommon. She pulls me aside one day. This is after a week or two where she saw me working. And I was partnered with another Asian dancer, singer, artist named Katie Lee Hill. She'll come up again in a second. Katie and I would take our characters, our ensemble characters. We created actual characters, people. We weren't just singing. We weren't just dancing. We were alive. We had history. We knew our ages. We knew our status. The job of a lead actor. I think Ruthie saw that and she pulled me aside and said, there's a part in Here Lies Love, the remount, that I think you'd be great for. It's to understudy the leads that play opposite me. I think you'd be great.
And which one is that?
And that's Ninoy Aquino.
Ninoy Aquino, yes, of course.
Yes, played by Conrad Ricamora, How to Get Away with Murder, and Broadway's Jose Lana, 25th Putnam County Annual Spelling Bee, and Kelvin Moonlow as the DJ. And so I auditioned, and Ruthie gave me some tips and help, and I booked it, and I was doing Here Lies Love, and at the same time, I had this random audition for this new TV show called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and they're looking for actors who can sing and maybe play musical instruments or have any musical ability. And that's actually what the breakdown said. It's like at the end of the breakdown description, first, it described me. Josh Chang, mid-20s, any Asian ethnicity, and the description felt like they were talking about me.
Right. Yeah,
and I went, well, that's weird because I never see a breakdown that describes my qualities. But then at the end, it also said, please share any musical ability, such as, example, singing, playing instruments, or rapping. Now, that's an open-ended phrase, not in Vinny's brain. I took that as do all three at the same time. So that's what I did. So for my audition, I accompanied myself on guitar and I sang and rapped Thug Mansion by Tupac Shakur. And that's what got me the role Josh Chan.
Oh my God. You see, do everything, whatever it requires. And you were ready. You were ready. You had all those, except rapping. How did you manage rapping?
Oh, actually, rapping started when I was a kid. There's a song called Rapper's Delight that my best friend growing up and I used to play and rap, and it had a lot of words. It had multiple verses and stories within those verses. And this is before laptop, before I had a computer. I would handwrite all the lyrics to Rapper's Delight. And there was no CD. It was a tape. So you can imagine 11, 12-year-old Vinny writing out lyrics to the hip, hop, a hip, all these little words, and I could articulate them. And to me, it was no different than drumming or tapping or maybe doing a multiple combo in a fight if you're attacking someone. So in my brain, I think I was already treating it like art. And by the time that opportunity came, I remember actually learning that song in an evening. I learned it on the page, but this I couldn't do. I couldn't do it very well. And what I didn't tell you is I didn't learn that song for no reason. Before Here Lies Love, I was auditioning for the Tupac Shakur musical, Holla If You Hear Me. And they wanted a non-black person to understudy the one non-black role in the show. And they wanted me to accompany myself singing the song Thug Mansion. And I couldn't. And I learned it in a night. I auditioned. I didn't book it, but I got Here Lies Love instead. And then Crazy Ex-Girlfriend came along, and it all just worked out.
Yes. So things work out in the end because you were ready. As I said, when you are ready, prepared, an opportunity comes, that's what people call luck, but it's not.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yes.
The 11 years I spent in New York was a preparation. And I just kept doing it's a phrase that it's a saying that goes, follow the energy. So I would just follow the energy, and I just kept doing what I love to do, and it made me ready for these opportunities.
Yes. And I know that you have a cabaret performance.
I do.
On Joe Pop's
Joe's Pub, yeah.
Joe's Pub.
Tomorrow night,
yes. So that's terrific. That's all you.
It's all me, and people will get to hear some of these stories. You'll get to hear stories about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and see songs and dances from the show, as well as some of my favorite musicals, and I'll even do some magic.
Wonderful. That is terrific. And one last final question. What is your present, aside from this cabaret, is there something that is on your plate that you are aiming for or that you're working now?
Oh, yeah. Well, recently, an animated job I worked appeared on Disney Plus, and I play the father of a Filipino kid in kindergarten, the musical, on Disney Plus. And before that, I filmed the sequel to my first Hallmark movie, Christmas on Cherry Lane. So the sequel, Season's Greetings on Cherry Lane, comes out December 5th on the new app Hallmark Plus.
Terrific.
Yes.
Terrific. We should all be... Again, could you repeat that for our audience?
Oh, sure.
December?
Yes, on December 5th on Hallmark Plus, you can see me starring as one of the leads in Season's Greetings on Cherry Lane.
All right. And that's Filipino cast with a Filipino
this is
young
true.
boy?
You will see a Filipino daughter, and you will see another Filipino relative of my character. Absolutely.
That's terrific. So we're coming up on television.
Yes.
Finally, recognition.
It is. It's nice. And I think the holiday season seems to follow me because I did White Christmas.
Yes.
And then a few years ago during the pandemic, I booked a role on a show called With Love. Seasons 1 and 2 are on Amazon Prime Video. And every episode was a different holiday. But it started with
Christmas.
So I think the holiday season seems to follow me around.
Well, why not? You have been a star, a dancer, martial arts, and the romantic lead, the first Filipino romantic lead in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. That's terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Do you ever feel like you're typecast in your characters, like Josh, Henry, Zian, have similar feels to them? How do you keep each character different? That's a good question.
That is a great question. I don't think I've been asked that question before. The answer I'd say to you, Don M., is first I'll say that acting is being a different person. And so I treat each of these characters like different people. These characters may all be Filipino, and that is because of me and my ethnic background and my advocacy of my ethnic background and wanting to, represent our community. But when it comes to playing them differently, I just think of them as literally completely different people. They have different backgrounds. Josh Chan, for instance, was a very young, aloof, immature young man with Peter Pan syndrome. He didn't want to grow up. He had to get kicked out of his house. He didn't start therapy until much later into his developmental years, which is a turning point on the show because Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is about mental health, and that is one of my passions and advocacies as well. And Henry Cruz on With Love, I had to create a different version of him. And I really did ask myself, how is he different from everyone else? And I thought, no one knows this, by the way, but I thought, well, what if Henry grew up and he was a successful young Filipino son who did look perfect, did have this level of success, but then realized early on that it didn't satisfy him and he was missing something. So that's where we see him in season 1, where he is bisexual on the show, and he's looking for love, and he finds it in this person who is the opposite of him, and yet they have so much beautiful, loving chemistry. And there's a big surprise of what happens between two of them in season 2 that I won't give away. But yeah, in every character I play, whether they're Filipino or not, I create a different person with a different outlook and a different upbringing, which I think colors how they speak and how they be themselves on camera or even voiceover. Because I've also played Lord of Thunder and the Mortal Kombat video game Raiden, and it's the same thing. I wasn't Josh Chan. I had to literally become someone else. And if you actually look at some of the videos of my phone of that recording session, I am acting like a different person.
Wonderful. All right. So the spirit, you create a character or you create another person, and that's how you do it.
Yes.
All right, Don Mike, that was the answer. Now, this is from Alison L.
Okay, Allison.
You speak a lot about mental health in your social media platforms. How do you practice what you preach?
This might be a little too revealing, Tita. Are they ready for this? So I became, well, let me start off by saying I have a bit of an obsessive personality. I think we have to be in order to be successful.
Success, right? Yes, absolutely.
But I think the question is, why? Are you motivated by money? Are you motivated by popularity? Are you motivated by things that go away when you pass? And I thought to myself, what kind of future and life do I want to make? And what legacy do I want to leave behind? And so that's when I started becoming very curious, not judgmental. I replaced it with curiosity. I do that in my acting and in my life. So the curiosity side of me went, well, if you're depressed, if you're upset, if you're anxious, why? So I started studying psychology, and I started to research the entrepreneurs of the world who were seeking out personal help. So that's when I discovered people like Mel Robbins, Simon Sinek, Michael Beckwith, Michael A. Singer, Brené Brown. These people, these gurus who were creating they were having discoveries on how our brains work and how to be more efficient and how to manage all the discomforts that life has to offer, especially when you're pursuing business or entrepreneurship. So that became something I focused on throughout the pandemic, like it was a master's degree. And I don't have a degree.
But you studied it well.
But I studied it as if I was in a 4-year program. And now when I teach or I mentor, that comes up a lot, because when people are learning, oftentimes they don't know that they might have a learning disability or they have a superpower. They're neurodivergent like me. They might have ADHD, or they're gifted, or they're a hypersensitive person. Those are the ones that I fall under. There's also, Tourette's and autism and degrees of that, which oftentimes are looked at like hindrances. But there are more and more studies coming out that show that they can be utilized if they're properly nurtured. And so when I started opening up that gate for myself, so many things became possible. And I started to instill very specific habits, like high-fiving myself in the mirror every morning, giving myself a hug, training my brain to manage and be aware of my self-talk so I don't put myself down. I have a nurturing voice when I talk to myself. And I surround myself with people who bring out the best in me and who give me space to grow. So like-minded people. And they say you are a product of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. So I started to be very careful.
Very selective.
Who I spend time with and what goes in my senses. So I don't watch live TV. I don't listen to live radio. Even on a subway or a public setting, I bring noise-canceling headphones so that I can choose what data my senses are receiving, because I'm sensitive to that. That's how I was able to learn all those songs and dances so quickly, and how I can now watch any piece of choreography or a fight and I can learn it.
Remember.
I can just learn it, and I could teach it to you.
Yes. All right. So he did a form of taking masters in psychology, just to understand what he is and what could be improved. Right. Okay. Good lessons, everyone. Now the last one is, you're the first Filipino I saw on American TV actually playing a Filipino. Can you tell us what that experience was like, staying a role, seeing yourself, and really a typical Filipino family represented on a national TV? Big fun here, and thanks for representing us all. And that's from Leia M.
Oh, thanks, Leia M. I appreciate that. Well, the experience was incredible. Also very surreal because it's never happened before. And so I became that kind of person who would just take photos, and they would tease me on set all the time. But I was doing that because I wanted to capture these moments that I knew were so special. The first Filipino romantic male lead on network TV means you're going to meet their family, and their family is going to be Filipino. So the idea that my participation in movies and TV shows, using my likeness and my actual ethnic background, opens the doors for more diverse casting. And I also noticed more Asian male romantic leads after Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, because that wasn't really something that was common. And so I started noticing more, and it felt like we were all working together to elevate the representation of our community, because it is often pigeonholed or stereotyped. So being on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and seeing Amy Hill play my mom, and Tess Paras playing my sister, and Arthur Bra, our story editor and writer's room writer, Renee Goupet, just seeing them and hearing like things like Tita instead of aunt. Like I remember the episode where you met my Aunt Myrna, played by Lea Salonga. I immediately, in the script, during the table read, I did not say aunt. I said Tita. Without even, I was like, nope.
Yeah. Very
nope.
good. Very good.
That was
Very
a mistake, and we're going to do this, and we'll see if I get a note about it. And of course, I didn't.
No.
Because
Authentic. It was authentic.
Well, it was authentic also because of the leadership. We had Aline Brosh McKenna, who wrote The Devil Wears Prada, 27 Dresses, the Annie remake. We had Rachel Bloom, who loves musicals, and she grew up with a lot of diversity. These two women led a predominantly female executive creative team, and even our crew. And so I was in an environment that was more balanced in terms of its representation. And so I think that was something Aline and Rachel championed. They wanted authenticity. That's why the fact that our show took place in West Covina meant we had to have people on the show who looked like they were from there. So when you see a group number that takes place, let's say in a mall or at an apartment complex, you will see every ethnicity depicted, because that's exactly what it looks like when you go to that place.
That's terrific. Okay? For those who can go back to Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, take a look for another viewing. Thank you. Thank you very much. And this is the last one from Trevor.
Okay, Trevor.
L. You're what people call a multi-hyphenate. How do you keep all your skills up to par without feeling that you're losing one or more of them? Oh my. Yes.
I was, as you were reading that, I got really nervous, but then I realized something. It's how I think. One of the easiest ways to become a different person or to get into your character is think about, how do they think? How do they see the world? What's their outlook on life? When they go outside, do they see the sun and the trees? Or do they immediately go, it's cold, I hate outside, there's bugs? And like, different people respond differently to different things. So as a multi-hyphenate, your words, not mine, Trevor, I perceive the world in a different way. And I find myself being very curious and a fan of all different types of art and how people express art and how art can kind of be an amalgamation, a symphony, a harmonious gathering of multiple things. In fact, one of the things I'm developing for myself is something that combines dance and martial arts. And I'm not going to say too much about it because I don't want y'all taking my idea. But that's part of what I think artists do. Just like when I was inspired by Rent or inspired by Paulo Montalban or inspired by watching martial arts shows and Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles as a kid or hearing Frank Sinatra sing, I just did it all because I loved it. And I think love is the ultimate fuel for anything you do as a human being.
We will end with that. Love is the ultimate fuel for a human being. Vincent Rodriguez III, thank you very much. It was so enlightening and so entertaining. You are the ultimate entertainer.
Oh,
yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you. And this is it, the Loida Lewis podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together. Thank you. Very good. Wow.
The Loida Lewis podcast, hosted by Loida Lewis, is produced by the creators of Over a Glass or Two, Jesse and JV, executive produced by Loida Nicolas Lewis. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Have a question for Miss Loida? Just email us on askloidalewis@gmail.com. Your question might make its way to a future episode. Subscribe on all major platforms to never miss a beat. Thank you for listening to the Loida Lewis podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together